Problem is that we don't tell them the truth that behaving poorly like this is going to hurt you in the long run. And that's the issue, because they get to 30, 35, can't find a guy. And then they're like, what happened? Like, everyone told me I can find a man at the end of the road. And they were lied to. I'm very anti-porn. I think it's toxic. I think it's extremely problematic, especially nowadays where it's extremely influential. You got women running around saying, I'm going to bang 100 dudes in a day, 1,000 dudes in a day. That sets a very bad precedent, because what ends up happening, right, is women by nature are just very easily influenced. This is why advertisers target women significantly compared to men. So if we got women doing stuff like this, deplorable things like this, they think, well, I can make a bunch of money going on OnlyFans, not knowing that like the average female makes like $100 a month on OnlyFans. And then what do? They end up destroying their life in the process. So my issue also is that the ubiquity of porn is also created negative cultural ramifications where, you know, again, I love America. This is a capitalist country, and I understand people being capitalists, which is why I'm saying, like, okay, maybe making it illegal might be, antithetical to our capitalism mantra, but I do think that we need to be as close as possible to making it illegal and just putting severe restrictions on it so that we don't influence the public, especially young, impressionable women, into getting into this career field.
We ban drugs. We're capitalists, but we say, hey, like, you know, you can't sell heroin.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, and I used to work in narcotics too. I mean, but that's a whole other
But does that work?
Conversation.
No one's doing heroin anymore?
Well, there's interesting arguments that seeps over into the abortion debate. So, you know, obviously you got one side, the Democrats, they're being like, you know, Whoopi Goldberg holds up a hanger and she's like, we are so close to this. Seamus Coughlin, good friend, he made the argument, so what? He said, so what? The restriction of it takes most of it away, and some people will still break the law. There's ways to restrict and regulate things to prevent black markets and violent crime, but making something free, available, and ubiquitous increases its use and
that's the problem.
Problems.
Yeah, and that's the main problem, is that it's easily accessible until the states did this whole thing. Well, people can just use VPNs, but yeah, the ubiquity of porn was the biggest problem, and how influential it is, especially when this like internet culture. You know, little girls used to grow up and little girls used to say, I want to grow up and be an astronaut. Now they want to get their ass pegged. Like, it's completely changed, man, where it's like we've deviated so much into degeneracy that it's wild. And pornography has been like the Trojan horse that's like kind of led that charge.
Let me ask you, do you think, I mentioned in the opening of the show that there's this trend, whether it's organic or just highlighted, where women are quitting their careers to do porn instead. Would you consider that to be a good thing? Or not, or neutral, or bad?
I don't know how true a lot of those stories are, to be honest, especially when they start showing the numbers that these women are making. It doesn't add up. So I agree that there's a huge issue with women that are saying, like, I'm making all of this money because it's delusional. There's 500 people in the entire world that are making 6 figures a month on OnlyFans, and I happen to know like most of them. So the chances of like you signing
only 5.
up, 500.
Oh, 500.
500. Okay. And there's about like 5 million creators on that platform. So like those aren't really great numbers.
But that's not the story. The story, the story particular, there was one story a few months ago when was a nurse, but she does like $3,000 or $4,000 a month on OnlyFans. So she quit her job because she was saying this is not a woman who has a staff like some of these bigger creators. And she's like, I think she was like late 30s. She just said, I was making, $50,000 a year as a nurse. I make that much doing OnlyFans, and I set my own schedule and work when I feel like it.
So my issue with that is if you're not doing it for like a different reason other than money or fame, it's going to come back and bite you in the butt, especially if you already have a career that has longevity. There's very little longevity in that career. So to leave something for something so fickle doesn't seem very wise to me. And I mean, that decision does have a lot of gravity to it. It closes a lot of doors, and there are so many like second and third order of consequences that come from that decision. There's no way you have the foresight to know. So I think for women that are just doing it for that, it doesn't.
Well, it's because we don't shame women anymore. You know what I mean?
I assure you, go on my feed. I get shamed hourly.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Like, yeah, you get shamed because of your past, and obviously it's the internet. But I would argue that we've removed a lot of the social training wheels that kept women in line, right? And we can talk about feminism and how that's influenced it. But the problem is that we really don't shame women for being hoes. That's just really what it comes down to. Yeah, you might get some comments here and there on Instagram, but if you look at the greater picture, we absolutely reinforce bad behavior from women. We tell women to date as many guys as possible. We tell them to put off family and a marriage. We tell them to, extract value from men while simultaneously not giving any value back. We have a very gynocentric society that really allows women to behave poorly with zero consequence. But the problem is that we don't tell them the truth that behaving poorly like this is going to hurt you in the long run. And that's the issue, because they get to 30, 35, can't find a guy. And then they're like, what happened? Like, everyone told me I can find a man at the end of the road. And they were lied to. And that's why I think like one of feminism's biggest failures is it lies to women.
There's this conversation about, is it good for women or any human to exploit their looks for money? And that usually ends up being a pretty empty
looks
life.
is different than
Acting's I felt like a prostitute in the entertainment industry. Like, they're like, just shut up, look pretty. Here's your paycheck. Don't talk about what you really believe. I'm like, I say this is good for you, and it's not. I'm like, okay, it's gross. Okay, that argument there, is it good for young women? Probably not in the long run. But then now what's going to happen is AI is coming in. Deep fake porn is where it's at. Women aren't even going to have to become porn stars to have that stuff everywhere when you go online. Like, I've seen the hottest VR women, like fake digital avatars, deep fake humans.
I bet you can even find Marge Simpson.
She was so hot. I'm like, it's not a real girl, dude.
Marge?
So,
Let me tell you this. Go ahead.
He's like 80.
Well,
Then
then it's like another discussion of, should these images be allowed to be on social media and prevalent, is another conversation. And is it healthy for humans to do?
This is a really good point, because to your point about gynocentrism and what society is telling women to do,
Yeah.
already we are seeing women be removed from the porn industry completely because of AI. It is now becoming guys. Like, I mean, come on. Everybody knows the story from Andrew Tate. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was saying that he would go on the messages and talk dirty to guys to make money. Yo, with the internet and now with AI, there's some dude who's going on OnlyFans and he's like, you're so pretty. And it's some guy sitting there and be like, yeah, tell me more, babe.
So let me kind of, because this is like my wheelhouse.
Just dudes
right
getting other
here.
dudes off. That's pretty gay.
So this is what I've realized from analyzing the sexual marketplace, modern women, modern men, etc. The bottom line is this. Feminism has created a very unstable environment for men and women to create families and, children, etc. The nuclear family has been destroyed through feminism. But what's ended up happening through feminism is women are earning more money than ever before. They're more successful, more educated than ever before. So women no longer need the provisioning and security that a man used to provide in the 1950s. They can go ahead and make their own money and, their own success. So since this institution exists, women's standards have went up. Well, here's the problem. Their standards have went up while they're simultaneously still promiscuous and not necessarily worthy of a marriage or a long-term relationship. So what's happened is we have a lot of guys that are quite involuntary celibate, having a tough time meeting women, getting girlfriends, etc. So what do men do if they have a reproductive problem? They solve for it, whether it's pornography, it's, fleshlights, or, you're talking about this AI, etc. What I predict is, if this continues on, where young men are being ostracized from dating and modern women in general, because modern women just don't see a majority of modern men as viable candidates, it's going to be what's going on right now. Top 5 to 10% of guys get all the girls, and the guys, the nerds, and Revenge of the Nerds, they're going to go ahead and start getting sex robots. And we're already seeing this happening right now. Lamar Odom went viral for getting a sex robot that represent, I think, what was his ex-wife's name? So one of the Khloe Kardashian, right? And everyone was like, what the hell? This is weird. I think that was a marketing ploy. But the main point I want to say is this. We already see guys disconnecting from the dating marketplace. We already see guys addicted to porn. We already see guys playing video games all the time. Because a lot of guys, the juice isn't worth the squeeze to deal with women that, quite frankly, are hoes. So they're going to go ahead. I think this robot industry is going to take off within the next 50 years. And I know people are like, Myron, what are you talking about? Well, keep in mind, 10, 15 years ago, if you met a girl on the internet and you said, oh yeah, we met on the internet, people laugh at you, right? But now, if you say, oh yeah, I met her on Tinder, I met her on Instagram, that's way more viable now. It's socially acceptable in just 10 short years. So I think with robots, that's going to probably be the future for a lot of guys, because we got an enormous amount of men that have a reproductive problem.
Bro, I think this is the end of feminism.
It might be.
The issue is that, as we're seeing with gender ideology and with AI porn and OnlyFans, men are better at being women than women are. And I mean that from a capitalist financial standard. Andrew Tate, I got to be fair, because I don't actually know a whole lot about what he was doing with like the apps and the girls and the dating stuff. But he's just an example people often cite. So I probably shouldn't cite that. I'll just say there are guys that run companies that use either they start by getting their own models to model, but they run the business, they do the chats, they hire other staff to do the chats. Then you've got like these males who identify as women winning female awards and being propped up on TV shows. Women love men. They love it when men be women and they give them awards for it. Men prefer to get their proclivities satiated by other guys who are running the business because those guys know how to do it. The end result of what we're seeing right now is women are not going to be able to get jobs. They're not going to be in porn. They're not going to be at the top of industry. It's going to be a bunch of guys just running literally everything for each other.
This is why I say, like, feminism actually hurts women. Like, it's the Trojan horse that actually hurts them, because what ends up happening with feminism is you've inadvertently given all the leverage to the highest status guys. Are they going to settle down with a woman? No. I can get all these girls. I'm going to just have the player lifestyle. So a majority of women end up dealing with a certain small percentage of guys. They think they're entitled to that type of guy, but what they don't realize, you can only sleep with that guy. You can't necessarily get him in a relationship. And you touched on in the chat rooms, etc. This is a very interesting phenomenon. When I have girls on my show, one of the questions they asked that always perplexed me was, what do men want? And I kind of had like a eureka moment, because as a man, for you to be successful with women, you have to know what women want. You have to be able to take them out on a date, be attractive, charming, dress well, do something. You have to do something right as a guy to get laid, right? We can all agree to that. But with women, you don't necessarily have to understand men to get men as a woman. Be pretty. Guys are going to come up to you. Do you really need to understand them?
I got to pause you there. Women don't even need to be pretty.
There you go. I'm being middle ground here.
My point is,
but it's easy mode for them. Is my point.
You said that 85% of the guys are getting the women. So
10%.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
50,
a minority. Minority. Yeah.
A minority, like 50% of guys are getting all the women.
Yeah.
And so when you actually look at dating trends, that means women who are considered to be on the below average side still get above average guys.
Absolutely.
Because guys are just like, I'll take it. Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon. So subscribe and come hang out.